Hi everyone, I hope you're doing wonderful. My name is Edith and I would love to welcome you to my podcast. In our work forum here, we believe in doing our shadow work to become better versions of ourselves. And in today's episode, we are gonna talk about the Bible and what the Bible actually says about inner work and the biblical foundation of inner work, and it's gonna be in several episodes. So our episode about biblical foundation of inner work, this is just the first part. It will be in several episodes. Why? Because God really did lay a foundation for inner work, and the Bible says in Romans 8 verses 12 that be ye transformed by the renewal of your minds. And so the inner work is something that we really cannot ignore. It's something that's biblical, and we really don't have to feel like we're doing something like a new age, whatever. We're not doing any other activity apart from we can really do inner work by basing it on the Bible itself. And therefore, in one of I want to talk about the biblical part of it. And in my first episode, I will address the inner work issue from the foundations that I found in the book of Deuteronomy. So in one of my many inner work pilgrimages, I felt driven to the book of Deuteronomy. Yes, I know the Old Testament. Many of us who are Christians, don't even read the Old Testament. At a point, I felt like I could never understand the Old Testament, especially the first 5 books. And therefore, like I was saying before, in one of my many pilgrimages of inner work, I felt driven to the book of Deuteronomy, and I really tried to look for information where I could get more about where I could get the book of Deuteronomy explained. And I did find some videos on YouTube, and they really helped shed light on exactly what I was looking for, and my heart was thirsty for at the time. And so in the book of Deuteronomy is where you find there is some really inner work going on. And the book of Deuteronomy records a time when Moses, the speech that Moses gave to the children of Israel just before his death, it was like a repetition of all the laws that he had taught to the children of Israel. And this one was because Moses was not going to see the promised land as the Lord had told him. So here he addresses the generation of Israelites who grew up in the wilderness, just as they were preparing to enter the land of Canaan. The wilderness is where, the people who came out of Egypt, they did so much disobedience to God. They complained a lot in the wilderness that God got angry and decided that none of them would see the land of Canaan, but their descendants, their children, would see the land of Canaan. And these were the people that Moses was addressing at the time. And remember before this that the Israelites had been delivered from slavery in Egypt and stayed in the wilderness for 40 years. And in the wilderness of where the inner work was happening. Remember, it was a very short distance. They could have gone from Egypt to Canaan within 2 months, but they took 40 years, and that was intentional. That I feel like God was very intentional about this journey of the Israelites. They had to, God had to make it appear, God had to make it know, God had to make them know, to make them a new being. Work had to be done, and that's what it's all about. For you to become a better version of it, for you to shed off the parts of you that, or the behaviors, maybe your attitude, your those patterns that you do not like about yourself. You have to do the work, and it's a work that is involved. And because of that, remember that God in His wisdom knew they had so much psychological imprint of slavery in their mind and in their body, in their bodies, and they had become slaves for more than remember their ancestors had become slaves for more than 400 years, and that is the only life they knew. So God knew that they would never enjoy the fruits of the land of Canaan if they went straight from Egypt to Canaan. Therefore, they had some work to do, and that is walking in the wilderness, walking through the things you don't wanna address, feelings and emotions that you don't wanna feel. Sometimes going hungry just to sacrifice for a better life. Sometimes having to do a lot of sacrifices for you to be able to to do better or to become a better version. Fasting for you to lose weight. There were so many examples, like you having to eating the food you don't like, the vegetables, and when you're used to sweet things and all that, not enjoying the vegetables but really eating them because you're after good health. And that is the same case when it comes to inner work. So, and that the journey in the wilderness was really necessary for the children of Israel. And I would say the book of Deuteronomy forms the foundation, one of the foundations of inner work for us as people who love to do inner work, and for us as people who aspire to become better versions of ourselves. There's no way we are going to do this if we do not walk in the wilderness, and if we do not prepare ourselves to live in the land of Canaan. And in the land of Canaan is where healing has begun. It's where healing is felt. It's where your traumas have been resolved. It's where you have dealt with your inner wounds. You have dealt with your brokenness. You have dealt with your heartbrokenness. You have addressed the wounds that are hurting you so badly. And in that aspect, then you can say that there's a way you ought to live that kind of life. And excuse me. And therefore, inner work is how you don't get defined by your circumstances. By the end of the day, the Israelites had been taking this journey for almost 40 years, and this seemed like Moses' last reminder that is what there's a way they ought to live their life if they had to go into the land of Canaan. So in the book of Deuteronomy 1:6, the Lord our God said to us at Horeb, "You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Break camp and advance in the hill country of the Amorites. Go to all the neighboring peoples in the Arabah, in the mountains on the western foothills, in the Niger and along the coast, the land of Canaanites and Lebanon, as far as the great river, the Euphrates. See, I have given you this land. Go in and take possession of the land, for the Lord so he would give to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and to their descendants after them." So the Lord now felt they had done enough stuff that they could now occupy the land of Canaan. So when you deal with your pain, your traumas, and your wounds, a better you or a better space and a better life awaits you ahead of you. And that is why inner work is really necessary. Inner work is very important, and one of the foundations that we ought to, the things that we ought to do today and to do in this area of inner work is to address our patterns, address our thought patterns, and walk really in the wilderness, because it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but it is really necessary if you want to do a better life. You want to do better, if you want to improve the yourself. And inner work is really how you break generational curses. It's how you and this is why we see the Israelites, the Lord made it happen for them. The Lord knew it. They knew that the Israelites needed, out of 400, whatever the weight that they had gained, for the weight of slavery, and because that's the only thing that they had known all their lives. That's what the 400 years in slavery, they needed 2 months alone could not take. They could go to the land of Canaan with the same mindset. And so yeah, that's it about today. I hope you get to enjoy our episode. Remember to give us feedback on our platform on the comment section. Remember to tell us the topics or areas you would like us to address about inner work. Inner work is so broad, and I want to tell you that you're in the right place, and we're gonna address so many things. And right now we're just setting the foundations and laying the right foundations for this channel. And yeah, I invite you to subscribe, I invite you to like and share, I invite you to be part of a beautiful journey, I invite you to enjoy, and just heal your wounds, heal your traumas, address them. Know that it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to feel, sometimes you're going to complain about it, but it's very, very necessary. So yeah, have a good day, and I'll see you in my next episode on the foundations of the inner work in the Bible. See you, and have yourself a good day.